The clash between Islam and Christendom has now been going on for more than 14 centuries, since the advent of Islam.
This is a war, a jihadist war, which started before 9/11, before the end of the Cold War, before the beginning of the Arab-Israeli conflicts. It's a very long war with deep roots.
This is a war about religion, not because we wish it to be so, but because the radical Islamists have named it so.
فهذا يدل بوضوح على طبيعة هذه الحرب وعلى أن هذه الحرب هي حرب دينية في الأساس.
This is a global cosmic struggle between two religiously defined civilizations, which will end only when they triumph universally.
There were two major jihads in history. The first one was during the beginnings of the early Islamic Empire.
In the 7th century AD CE, Arab Muslim armies erupted from Arabia and conquered a lot of lands.
When the Arabs came out of Arabia and moved into the Fertile Crescent, eastwards to Iraq and Iran and Central Asia and India, westwards to Syria, Palestine, Egypt, North Africa, and from there into Europe, where they ruled Spain and Portugal and a good part of Italy for quite a while. That was obviously not done by peaceful persuasion.
That was the first major jihad. The second jihad, when the Turks invaded the Balkans all the way to the walls of Vienna.
They conquered the great Christian city of Constantinople in 1453, and they were able to expand into southeastern Europe, conquering the whole of the southeast.
And where we find ourselves today, we're in the third and final phase of their mission to bring about the domination of their version of Islam.
The main goal of our jihad and resistance is to implement the law of Allah and to fight against the infidels all over the world and implement one religion across the world.
ما نعتقده أن جميع الأرض لا بد أن تكون تحت حكم الإسلام لا يخرج عن ذلك ذرة واحدة منه.
نحن العالم من أجل أن تنتصر كلمة لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله على خطة موسكو وواشنطن وباريس.
The root, the quest for Islam to become the dominant religion and Sharia the law of the land.
It seems so preposterous and so unbelievable, but yet thousands and millions of people follow this and take it seriously.
Islam will dominate. That's what it will be. We want to see Sharia here, and it will be. The flag of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, will be, inshallah, in the White House, if that's what we choose to be. It just takes time. The American people are waking up now.
Allah does say that the whole world eventually will be under His ruling. The world will come down to where everybody obeys the laws of God. Simple as that.
When groups like these talk about wanting to create a global Islamic state and Islam dominating the world, you realize that they hold some of the same goals as Al-Qaeda and millions of radicals around the world. And that's what makes them dangerous.
Across the world, we see that Christians are having a terrible time of it.
Christians in Iraq are deliberately targeted. The past 6 months alone, 7 priests have been kidnapped and 2 of them murdered.
All kinds of countries. We see Christians being persecuted, being oppressed, their churches being burned down, Christians being murdered, sometimes in very large number.
They were in the church for prayer when the car bomb went off.
The Christian communities in most Muslim countries now clearly feel themselves to be under strain It's noticeable, for example, that a town like Bethlehem, which was once predominantly Christian, now has very few Christians remaining.
Bethlehem is once a Christian city, but today Christians are only about 10 to 15% of the population here.
My father's been shot at 3 separate times for one simple reason: carrying that cross and walking every day.
During my talk to several evangelical groups in this land, they said almost the same, that they have been threatened by the fanatics, the Khomeini Islamic group in this land, and by telling them you have to close your mission work, you have to close.
Where there are Christian minorities and where there are Jewish minorities in any one of the countries where there is an Islamic majority, they are persecuted, they are overtaxed, they have to hide their religion.
चंद इस्लामिक मुल्कों में, मिसाल के तौर पर सऊदी अरेबिया, etc. में propagation of any other religion is prohibited. Even construction of any place of worship is also prohibited.
In the homeland of Islam, Saudi Arabia, the Vatican of Islam, you're not allowed to build a church and you're not allowed to carry a Bible. It's both an offense.
और अल्लाह ताला फरमाते हैं सूरह इमरान सूरह नंबर 3 आयत नंबर 85 में क्या इस्लाम के अलावा कोई भी बगैर मज़हब अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला कबूल नहीं करेगी. तो दीन के मामले में हम जानते हैं इस्लाम ही सिर्फ सही दीन है, इसीलिए हम दूसरे दीन का प्रोपगेशन अलाउ नहीं करते.
Muhammad Higazi's father always taught him to hate Christians. Yet Muhammad's Christian neighbors in his hometown in Egypt always treated him with love and kindness. And the more he learned about Islam, the more he began to feel distant from the God of Islam. That was the beginning of a quest to find out more about Jesus Christ.
I began to learn more about Jesus Christ.
About 3 years ago, he found a loving Father in the God of the Bible. He wanted to publicly profess his conversion on his Egyptian national ID card that, among other things, lists a person's religion. He approached this lawyer to see if he could help him. Somehow Higazi's story was leaked to the press and unleashed a firestorm of controversy that seems to have swept every major Arabic-speaking television station.
Anyone who becomes a Christian must be mentally ill.
Adding fuel to the fire, Muhammad's friends began appearing on different TV talk shows to damage his character, even going so far as to call him disturbed. A few months ago, Muhammad's highly publicized case went to court, and the judge denied him the ability to change his religion from Islam to Christianity. If Muhammad should attempt to go against the court, he could face 3 to 10 years in prison and a hefty fine. Muhammad and his then-pregnant wife Christina began running from the law. Just over a month ago, she gave birth to baby Miriam in hiding, alone, with no help from family or friends. They've all sworn to kill her because she married a non-Muslim against her family's wishes.